Were you aware that a solitary leaf from a plant bought at your neighborhood nursery could stop your heart? It sounds drastic, but it is true. Today, we are counting down 7 of the most hazardous plants you should never bring indoors. You've probably noticed some of these at garden centers, and number 2 is one of the most popular houseplants people purchase without understanding the risks. Stick around because this countdown might just alter how you shop for plants forever. I have spent years around gardens and plant nurseries. One thing that surprises me is how many hazardous plants are sold without a single warning tag. Organizations like the ASPCA, Poison Control, and even the Royal Horticultural Society maintain long lists of flora that can injure pets and humans, yet they are still sitting on store shelves. Before we jump in, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you do not miss upcoming videos on gardening safety and plant care. Your backing helps this channel expand, and it might even save a life.
Before we dive deep, join our community of curious minds. Subscribe to The Career Botanist for the hidden science of nature. Let's begin. To the naked eye, it is just nature, but look closer. It is engineering, it is economics, it is survival. Welcome to the hidden side of biology. This is modern botany.
First on our list is oleander. At first glance, it is a breathtaking shrub. Tall, lush green foliage and clusters of bright pink, red, or white blossoms that look like they belong on a tropical postcard. It is no surprise nurseries love selling it. Oleander thrives in warmer climates. It is drought-resistant, and it can transform an ordinary backyard into something that feels exotic and vibrant. But here's the dark side. Every single piece of this plant is toxic. Leaves, flowers, stems, and even the smoke if you happen to burn it. Oleander holds powerful toxins known as cardiac glycosides, the exact same compounds utilized in specific heart medications. The distinction? In medicine, the dosage is strictly controlled. In oleander, even a solitary leaf can be lethal to a child. Dogs and cats are similarly at risk, with symptoms varying from vomiting and a slowed heart rate to sudden death if left untreated. This is not just theory. Out in California, there have been instances of horses perishing after nibbling on oleander branches thrown into a pasture. Animal hospitals routinely issue warnings during the summer when folks trim their oleander hedges and pets accidentally consume the clippings. So what is the safer option if you adore that vivid floral look? Opt for hibiscus. It is just as colorful, non-toxic to both pets and humans, and still provides you with that tropical garden atmosphere without the hidden peril. And if oleander surprised you, wait until you learn about the next plant. It appears delicate, almost fairy-like, but inside your system, it can act like a ticking time bomb for your heart. Let us talk about foxglove. Number 2 is a plant that looks like it stepped straight out of a fairy tale garden. Foxglove. Tall stalks draped in bell-shaped blossoms painted in hues of purple, pink, and white. If you have ever strolled past one, you know how magical they appear, like tiny trumpets calling out in a field. And that is exactly why nurseries love stocking them. They are eye-catching, draw in bees and hummingbirds, and they are surprisingly simple to grow once planted. People purchase them because they transform a basic flower bed into a centerpiece. But here's the catch. Inside those fragile blooms hides a strong chemical cocktail. Foxglove carries compounds known as digitalis glycosides. In measured doses, physicians have utilized digitalis for centuries to combat heart failure. However, in the wild plant, the dosage is unregulated and lethal. Swallowing foxglove can trigger nausea, vomiting, severely irregular heartbeats, seizures, and even cardiac arrest. The threat is real, primarily because kids might confuse the tubular blooms for something edible. History is packed with warnings. Back in the 18th century, foxglove secured a spot in medicine because it could fortify a failing heart. but that arrived with a razor-thin margin between healing and poisoning. Even today, emergency rooms treat cases of accidental foxglove consumption from both animals and people. Over in the UK, there have been accounts of gardeners enduring severe poisoning after touching the plant without gloves and subsequently rubbing their mouths. So, what should you plant instead if you desire that vertical, vibrant aesthetic in your yard? Give snapdragon a try. It grows tall, provides vivid hues in the identical pinks, purples, and yellows, but it is totally safe for kids and animals. You achieve the charm without the danger. And trust me, if foxglove gave you shivers, wait until you encounter the next plant. It is one of the most widespread houseplants globally, and individuals place it right in their living rooms without knowing that a single bite can make it nearly impossible to breathe. Let us discuss dumcane. At number 3, we have a plant that you have likely spotted in offices, living rooms, and even nurseries, going by the name dumcane. With its massive, glossy green leaves accented with creamy white or yellow, Dieffenbachia is striking. It exudes that lush, tropical indoor energy that makes any section of a house feel alive. That is why nurseries promote it. Simple to grow, handles low light well, and brings instant style to a room. But here's what the majority of people do not realize. Inside those gorgeous leaves exist microscopic needle-like crystals called calcium oxalate. When someone chews or bites into the foliage, those crystals fire into the soft tissues of the mouth and throat like tiny shards of glass. The outcome? Intense burning agony, swelling of the lips and tongue, and in certain instances, the throat swells so drastically that it becomes difficult to breathe or speak. That is why it is named dumcane. Victims are rendered unable to talk. And yes, this has occurred more than once. Poison control centers across the United States and Europe receive frequent calls regarding toddlers chewing on a leaf or felines and canines biting the stems. In severe situations, hospital intervention is required to keep the airway clear. Even touching the sap with bare hands can trigger skin irritation and burning eyes if you rub them afterward. So what is a secure substitute if you cherish that bold-leaved tropical appearance? Go with a parlor palm or a Boston fern. Both are resilient, simple to maintain, and entirely non-toxic to animals and humans. They provide the identical lush green aesthetic without turning your living area into a concealed hazard. And if you believed dumcane was terrible, get ready for number 4. It is a plant that resembles a miniature palm tree, frequently sold as a decorative centerpiece. But here's the reality. This one has sent countless animals to emergency vets, and even a tiny taste can shut down the liver. Let's talk about the sago palm.
Number 4 on our list is the sago palm. At first glance, it resembles a miniature palm tree. Thick trunk, dark green fronds that fan out spectacularly, and a tropical vibe that makes folks dream of vacation. Nurseries enjoy selling it because it requires low maintenance, appears exotic, and functions well both indoors and outdoors in containers. Numerous buyers view it as the ideal accent plant for their living spaces or patios. But underneath that beauty rests one of the deadliest threats for pets. Every single portion of the sago palm is poisonous, but the seeds are particularly hazardous. They hold a toxin named psychocin, which attacks the liver. For dogs and felines, even a slight nibble can initiate vomiting, diarrhea, seizures, liver failure, and in numerous instances, death. Veterinary clinics issue constant warnings regarding this plant, since it is one of the leading causes of fatal poisoning in pets across the United States, and the stories are heartbreaking. There are numerous accounts of dogs discovering a dropped seed in the yard and being rushed to the clinic, only for the owners to learn that treatment is pricey and survival odds are incredibly low once symptoms appear. The plant does not appear threatening, no spikes, no bright warning hues, yet it is a silent assassin for animals. So, if you desire that tropical palm aesthetic without the peril, select an areca palm or a ponytail palm. Both offer you the identical decorative charm but are completely safe for pets and children. They flourish indoors, provide a hint of the tropics, and do not arrive with a concealed toxic price tag. And if you thought the sago palm was awful for pets, wait until you view number 5. It is a plant cultivated for its dramatic foliage, but inside its seeds rests one of the most notorious toxins in the world, the exact one you have read about in spy novels and crime thrillers. Let us discuss the castor bean plant. At number 5, we feature a plant that appears bold, dramatic, and almost decorative in its own right, the castor bean plant. With its towering stalks, oversized star-shaped foliage, and spiky red seed pods, it is frequently cultivated as a focal piece in gardens. Nurseries occasionally offer it for its exotic, tropical appearance, and it is simple to understand why. It grows rapidly, occupies space, and captures the eye. For a gardener seeking something striking, it feels like a solid choice. But here is what makes it one of the most hazardous plants on Earth. The seeds of the castor bean plant carry ricin. Yes, the identical lethal poison you have read about in spy novels and crime thrillers. Ricin is so poisonous that even a minuscule amount can shut down your body's capacity to produce proteins, resulting in organ failure and death. Merely 2 or 3 seeds can kill a youngster. For animals, the danger is just as extreme. Even touching the seeds without washing your hands adequately can be dangerous if you accidentally rub your eyes or mouth later. And this is not just hypothetical. There have been actual instances where kids mistook the glossy seeds for candy or beans and wound up in emergency rooms. In fact, poison control centers have recorded countless poisonings tied directly to this plant. That is why in numerous regions, planting castor bean is frowned upon or outright banned. It is simply too hazardous to keep around humans and pets. So what can you grow instead if you desire that bold, leafy tropical appearance? Opt for elephant ear or canna lily. Both provide you with the massive, dramatic leaves and vivid blooms, but they are harmless and will not put your family or animals at risk. And if ricin sounds frightening, wait until you encounter number 6. It is a plant that appears innocent, featuring pretty blooms people frequently utilize in landscaping. But its blossoms and leaves can spark everything from dizziness to vomiting, and in certain situations, even coma. Let us talk about azaleas and rhododendrons. Number 6 might stun you because it is one of the most beloved landscaping plants globally, azaleas, and their close cousins, rhododendrons. Stroll through a nursery in springtime and you will spot them everywhere, exploding with color. Pink, purple, red, white, blooms so vivid they almost appear painted on. Homeowners adore them because they're resilient, evergreen, and they convert any front lawn into a spectacular display of blossoms. It is no surprise nurseries continue selling them by the truckload. But concealed behind that gorgeousness is a hazardous secret. Azaleas and rhododendrons hold compounds known as grayanotoxins. When swallowed, these toxins disrupt the body's sodium channels, the exact signals that keep your nerves and muscles, including your heart, operating. Even a handful of leaves or some nectar can trigger symptoms like nausea, dizziness, stomach pain, and dangerously low blood pressure. In extreme situations, victims might slip into a coma or endure fatal heart complications. This is not merely theory, it possesses a history. Ancient texts document mad honey produced by bees that dined on rhododendron nectar in regions of Turkey. Soldiers who ingested this honey centuries ago became severely sick with confusion, vomiting, and paralysis. The toxins in azaleas and rhododendrons were potent enough to transfer over into the honey itself. Modern instances are still documented. Poison control centers field calls annually regarding pets, particularly dogs, munching on azalea foliage. The outcome can be vomiting, diarrhea, drooling, lethargy, and if not treated swiftly, death. The American Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals ranks azaleas as one of the top plants that can be deadly to pets. So what is a safe substitute if you desire that springtime explosion of color? Consider planting camellias or viburnum. They provide lush green leaves and bright, flashy blooms without the concealed threat of toxic compounds. You still achieve the identical cheerful, inviting display for your yard, but without placing your animals or family at risk.
And if azaleas sound dangerous, just wait for number 7. It is a plant individuals bring inside their houses every year during the holidays, displaying it proudly on tables and mantels. But for felines, even the tiniest nibble on its petals can result in kidney failure and death. Let us discuss lilies.
Finally, at number 7, we arrive at a plant that many folks view as elegant, pure, even holy, the lily. With their lengthy stems, wide petals, and potent scent, lilies are a florist's top choice. You notice them at weddings, funerals, Easter ceremonies, and in houses during the festive season. Nurseries and garden centers offer them in containers, and their widespread appeal makes them almost impossible to resist. Who would not desire that splash of white, orange, or pink brightening up their living space? But what the majority of people do not realize is that lilies are silent assassins for cats. And I do not mean a bite of the flower head or a massive mouthful of foliage. Even the smallest exposure can be lethal. The pollen alone, if brushed onto a feline's coat and then licked off, is enough to trigger acute kidney failure. Consuming the water from a vase of cut lilies can be equally deadly. Within hours, cats might start vomiting, lose their hunger, and become sluggish. Without prompt emergency intervention, the majority do not survive. Veterinarians caution about this continuously, yet every festive season, clinics document tragic instances of cat owners who had zero clue. They placed a vase of lilies on the island, headed to work, and returned home to an animal in distress. The survival odds drop significantly if treatment does not commence within 18 hours. That is how rapidly the toxin travels through the system. And here's the catch. Not all lilies are equally poisonous to people, but the danger to felines is absolute. Whether it's Easter lilies, tiger lilies, day lilies, or stargazers, if you keep a cat in your residence, every single variety of them should be deemed off-limits. Even canine owners should practice caution, as swallowing them can trigger stomach distress, although dogs are less vulnerable than cats. So what can you utilize instead if you desire that refined, long-stemmed appearance without the lethal hazard? Opt for orchids or roses. Both are secure for animals, provide elegance in a vase or a container, and deliver the identical sophisticated vibe without placing your furry friends in jeopardy. And here's the concept I want to leave you with. Plants can introduce happiness, color, and vitality to our environments, but the incorrect plant can also introduce disaster. Now that you understand the hazards, you can make more secure decisions for your residence and yard. Before we conclude, I wish to provide you a few fast, honorable mentions, plants that missed the primary list but are still worth recognizing. First up, hydrangea. With their massive, globe-shaped bunches of blooms, they are one of the most beloved garden plants globally. But here is the drawback. The foliage and flower buds hold cyanogenic compounds, the identical family of chemicals that can emit cyanide when swallowed. Although it typically requires a substantial quantity to trigger severe injury, animals and kids are in jeopardy if they chew on the shrub. Next, monkshood. Otherwise known as aconitum, or the queen of poisons, its towering spikes of rich purple or blue blossoms make it appear regal, almost majestic, but do not let that elegance deceive you. Merely touching the plant without hand protection can trigger tingling and numbness, and swallowing even a tiny portion has proven lethal throughout history. It has been tied to poisonings dating as far back as ancient Rome, and even nowadays, gardeners are advised to manage it with profound caution. And lastly, philodendrons. You'll notice these everywhere as indoor greenery, scaling up trellises or dangling in hanging baskets. They're not as lethal as the rest, but they carry calcium oxalate crystals, the identical irritants present in dumb cane. Chewing a leaf can trigger burning, inflammation, and drooling in animals or children. Not life-threatening in the majority of situations, but still sufficient to warrant a visit to the vet or physician. And keep in mind, these are not the sole hazardous plants out there. Nurseries market dozens more without caution tags, which is why it is vital to understand what you are bringing indoors. So let us wrap up with some fast safety pointers that will assist you in avoiding these concealed perils.
Now that we've covered the countdown, let us discuss how you can keep yourself, your household, and your animals secure. First, consistently read plant tags thoroughly. Search for terms like toxic, poisonous, or unsafe for pets. If the label fails to mention anything, that does not guarantee it is harmless. Nurseries frequently omit that information. Take a second to search the plant's scientific title on your smartphone before purchasing. That rapid verification could spare you a massive amount of hassle. Second, if you ever assume that a kid or animal has munched on a questionable plant, do not wait and observe what occurs. For animals, ring your vet or an emergency animal clinic right away. For humans, reach out to poison control or head directly to the emergency department. Time is crucial. Prompt intervention makes a massive difference. Third, populate your yard with secure substitutes. Rather than hazardous ornamentals, test plants like lavender, marigolds, or sunflowers. They're vibrant, gorgeous, and totally non-toxic. Furthermore, they attract pollinators, which is an advantage for the well-being of your yard. And here's your extra pointer. When uncertain, always double-check a plant's identity before you purchase. It requires 10 seconds and it could avert a grave emergency. The additional precaution is justified. So, there you have it, the 7 most hazardous plants you should never purchase from nurseries. They might appear gorgeous, but beneath that elegance are toxins and dangers that the majority of folks never learn about. And keep in mind, the nursery is not going to caution you. It falls on you to learn what is secure and what is not. Now I want to hear from you. Which of these plants surprised you the most? Was it the lethal oleander, the cat-destroying lilies, or perhaps the castor bean with its notorious toxin, ricin? Leave your response in the comments. I read every single reply, and I adore hearing your tales and encounters. If you found this clip beneficial, smash that like button, share it with fellow plant enthusiasts, and do not neglect to subscribe to the channel. By subscribing, you will be the initial to know when I upload fresh content on gardening safety, plant maintenance, and how to design a yard that is both stunning and secure. Your backing means everything, and united, we can spread knowledge about the concealed threats in our gardens. Thank you for viewing. Remain secure in your garden, and I will catch you in the upcoming video.